Buddy, and welcome to Friday's video. It's been a long time since you saw me sitting in my pantry talking about a little bit about prepping. Excuse me while I take just a deep sigh. The last 2 years I have really been focusing on prepping and having a food pantry. As you can see all around me, I think I've done a pretty good job. It was top priority in my life, and many of my videos were focused on prepping. You haven't heard me talk much about prepping because I'm finished. I'm done prepping. Woohoo! That doesn't mean I'm done sharing my videos about prepping, but for me, I can honestly tell you that I am done prepping as far as buying food or buying things to prep. Every single month I'm able to glean food that was going to be thrown away, and of course I'm going to continue to show you videos of that, showing what I do with it, how I can it, how I preserve it for many years to come. But no longer do I need to go to the grocery store and buy food to prep. I hope through my videos you've learned a lot about going to Walmart, buying frozen food and canning it, or taking big number 10 cans and recanning it. These are things that you don't hear a whole lot about on the internet, but it's becoming quite popular through the videos of this year. This is something that I have been doing for 30 years, and I hope that you gleaned something from my videos, and I'm going to continue to share those videos with you. So today I'm going to discuss some different topics. I'm going to discuss about prepping and also about canning. What is my favorite canning recipe? And what is the canning recipe that I did that I would never do again? If you search Homestead Tessie on Google, the #1 thing that comes up is Homestead Tessie's Pantry, Homestead Tessie's Canning. And obviously people really are interested in all of the things that I do, because some of the things I do are so different than what you see in the mainstream world. Like recanning shortening, or recanning lard, recanning mustard, canning butter. All of those things are things that you don't see every day. But I always tell you when I can to always have the best safety measures. And I explain to you all the rules and regulations with canning, and how I'm considered a rebel canner, but yet I'm not a haphazard canner. In other words, I research before I do the things that I do. So I want to share with you a book that I never shared with you before. In fact, it is the most expensive book I ever bought. Shortly after I bought the book, she was offering it on Kindle for free. But I do like having hard copies of all of the books that I have. And it is called A Cabin Full of Food. This book is one of my favorite go-to books. And I've actually spoken to the author of this book many years ago. She lived a very frugal and off-grid life, and she shares a lot of tips on how that you can have food without all the modern technology. A Cabin Full of Food. And I will try to have the link in the description box below here. Now, at the time when I bought this, when it first came out, I paid $40 for it. I'm sure it is a lot cheaper these days, but I really wanted this book in my hands, and I saved up my birthday money all those years ago to be able to buy it. A Cabin Full of Food. Two main prepping pantries. I have an outdoor prepping pantry, and I have this one. And oftentimes people are saying to me, when is enough enough, Tessie? Your room is going to get so full. And that is true. In the last 2 years, what I did was I wrote down every single thing that I use on a daily or weekly or monthly basis. I wrote down all the ingredients. So the things that I use, like spaghetti noodles, flour, sugar, salt, pepper, all of these things. Last 2 years, what I decided to do was write them all down and actually stock up on those items. And I'm able to say today that there is no item that I don't have here that I need in the near future. Now, of course, every time you use something, you need to rotate it. And so I will be doing that. But I can go now a whole year without having to replenish my supplies. And so I'm going to do that. I am not going to replenish my supplies. I'm going to use up some of the things that I have. And then in another year or two, I will be able to stock up some more. But I have some oatmeal from 2016, and I have some canned food from 2014. That is the oldest food that I have, is 2014. And you can have canned food for many years. You know, a lot of people ask me, well, what's the shelf life of this and what's the shelf life of that? All canned food, if it's canned properly and it's stored properly, can last you 5, 6, 7, 8 years and even above. The only thing, if you have food that's over 5 years old, you will lose a little bit of the nutrients inside your food. But the number one thing with storing food is not temperature, but it's sunlight. You don't want to have sunlight in your pantry. In fact, I'm going to turn off my light and show you how dark it is. Now this is what my pantry looks like. Behind me you see that the curtain is just pushed a little bit to the side. I do that because I want ventilation in the summer months. But that is a darkening blind, and if I would pull it the whole way closed, that would keep this room pitch black that you couldn't even be able to see in it. But it's real important to have ventilation. Sunlight is the number one enemy of your canned and your stored food. So you don't want to have it in a damp room. So a lot of times basements are not the proper place to have food unless you take a lot of precautions. Basements can be very damp and they can be very musty, and there's not much airflow. You have to have good ventilation, good airflow, and have a dark room. This is a bedroom, so I converted my extra bedroom into this pantry. It does have a door that goes in and out, but I always keep my door open to give more airflow. But canned food can last you almost indefinitely if you can it properly. What I started doing was I have my vacuum packs, so I seal things in vacuum packs like this, and that really makes a huge difference. A vacuum sealer is something that is really important if you want to have a pantry, because vacuum sealing will really save your items. If you're going to go to all the trouble of canning and you're going to go all the trouble of storing your food, if you don't store it properly, you're going to lose it. So storing the food is just as important as buying the food. Mylar bags is also really important. So what is the difference between Mylar bags and vacuum sealing bags? Vacuum sealing bags is the plastic. So you do have the plastic, and Mylar bags is the foil. Sun can't penetrate in a Mylar bag. So what I do, I have my grains, I have my flours, I have things like this, usually in the Mylar bags for long-term protection. This can protect you for 5 years at least. Mylar bags can protect you from 20 to 25 years. So a Mylar bag is really important. Rodents have a harder time getting in a Mylar bag because of its foil. Rodents do not like foil and will not usually try to eat into foil. But rodents will eat into plastic, as you all know. Now, I don't have any problems whatsoever with any kind of rodents here because I have it in an area where it's in my home and it's always kept clean and tidy. Every month I go through my room here and just take a duster, a feather duster. I will also take some Lysol wipes and wipe everything down. You have to think of your pantry as a grocery store. A dingy, dirty grocery store, you would never want to buy food in there, now would you? But a nice, clean, well-kept grocery store, it's very pleasing to the eye, and also you know your food is being kept clean. Think of it as a kitchen, as a store for a hospital or for a restaurant or for a school. You want to treat it that way. You want to treat your items that they're very well washed and kept. Keeping up with your pantry is really easy. It's not that difficult. When you have food like this, you would think that it's something very difficult to keep things clean. It's very simple. You just go through, I go once a month and dust everything off, and then about twice a year I'll go through it and I will check and inspect my jars even a little better. You know, every once in a while you will have a jar that will unseal. That's just life in general. I don't have a problem with having things unseal, hardly ever. But every once in a while maybe a jar will fall or something will fall, and when it falls upon another jar that will loosen the seal. But in general, my jars don't unseal. You want to keep your climate, you know, fairly even, but my room in here gets over 90 degrees. Now, it never freezes in here because it is in my home, but it gets 90 degrees in here and I've never had an issue. And that is because of not having any sunlight and always having a window that is open. I don't want to have a room that's really closed off and that the air is really stale. You don't want to have a room like that, so you want to just keep ventilation, dark and ventilated. So what are my favorite all-time recipes? Well, all of the recipes that I share with you are tried and true recipes, but my number one favorite recipe, and it's the first time I ever made it this year, was strawberry pie filling. Was the number one blue ribbon recipe of this year and of all the years. This here is the first time I made it this year. It is absolutely 100% the best canning recipe I have ever had. And I hope you give it a try. As you can see, it is beautiful. It retains its shape. Number one, love it. One of my other favorite recipes is my cucumber or zucchini relish. I have been making this since 2011. It is another favorite of mine. All of the recipes that I've tried, I like. There's two recipes that I have tried in my lifetime that I will never try again. The first one was barbecue chicken. It sounded like a great idea, but what happened was when you pressure can your chicken, it's in such high temperatures that your barbecue sauce actually got burnt. So you had a burnt flavor to your chicken. Now I can still use it, but it's something I would never try again. And the ultimate fail in canning was this. I saw on the internet a lady who was canning chicken and rice soup. Horrible. Never, ever, ever will I ever can chicken and rice soup. So it got really thick like this. It just was not very good. Now, I'm not going to throw it away. I am going to use it. But the chicken and rice soup was a no-no. So that was the only thing that I can tell you that was an absolute fail. Because I even did less than what she said, and it still turned into a gummy, glummy mess. No matter how much you can or how well seasoned you are at canning, you're going to have mistakes, you're going to have failures, but that is part of learning and growing. And people just love my pantry, and I'm really thankful for all of you who enjoy seeing the fruits of my labor. There were many times where I felt like I was the only one in the whole wide world that was spending all of her days canning and prepping. I have hundreds of pounds of beans, and of course you know I have all of that rice, 700 pounds of free rice, which I've given a couple hundred pounds away, a couple hundred pounds of oatmeal, a couple hundred pounds of flour, a couple hundred pounds of this and that, all kinds of beans. And I'm just really blessed, and sitting here, I'm really thankful. At the time, I had so much energy. And I know as we get older, it gets harder to do all of these things. I don't know what the pantry is going to hold this month. It's coming up on Saturday. So I don't know what the food pantry is going to have that's left to be thrown away. I'm really excited to see what the winter is like. Who knows? I may be canning for every month for the rest of my life. Or there may not be anything this coming month or the months ahead. It's hard to know. But I do know one thing. I don't need to be buying any more food. The only thing that's left for me with prepping is I really need to have more water stored up. I was really thankful. A subscriber bought me some water tablets. I have wanted these for probably over 6 months, and it was such a blessing and surprise to me. The water tablets, you put 1 tablet in, it's 5 gallons of water, and I really wanted to have that in my prepping pantry just to have it in case I ever needed it. And I'm really thankful for that. Food with prepping, I have been stocking up on medical supplies, medical books. I've been stocking up on all natural alternatives to medicine that you need. I have all kinds of different things, and I will be sharing in upcoming videos what else I have that's in my pantry that's not edible. As you know, I really focused a lot on food and water and a lot of different juices, and so we have a lot of grape juice because juices are fluids, which are really good, and a lot of times, you know, water is great, you need water, but sometimes to have fruits and juices are really good as well. I had one last prepping item that I needed to do this week to say, finally I'm finished. And my friend Ellen, she goes to Sharp Shopper, which is a grocery store that has dents and bents and discounted food. And she told me about this. It is canned ground beef in its own juice. Well, I thought it sounds really interesting, and I bought a couple of these cans. Well, let me tell you what, it's amazing. For $1.49, we have 1.5 pounds of USDA ground beef. Very, very good. So once we tried it and realized it's amazing, and we probably will never see this again, we went and we bought a case of it. So now we have like 1.5 cases of it. I do have some deer meat that I've canned. I have a lot of chicken. As you know, I get my chicken for 29 cents a pound twice a year. I have plenty of chicken to last me a long time. But to have some of this canned ground beef is amazing. So I really want to thank you, Ellen, for sharing with me about it. And it is going fast. The shelves are almost empty. But this is something that just put an end to my pantry prepping as far as buying anything. And I think I have everything covered. You know, there's so many things that you do and you make, like canning salt. I thought, hey, I better stock up on some of my canning salt. That's something I use to make my relish and my pickles. And so I went and I stocked up on some of that. So I prep not for the apocalypse or for the end of the world as we know it. My prepping is just to give me a little bit of food security and food safety no matter what happens in life. And I hope that you do a little more of your food prepping. It's something quite fun and enjoyable. And you know what? You get a lot of satisfaction in doing it. Take care, everyone. We'll see you guys tomorrow. I have a little bit of a homework assignment for you. Let me know in the comments below. What have you done since watching my videos on prepping? What's something you're doing different? I know a lot of you have amazing ideas, and I know a lot of you said that you started doing some prepping of your own. Why don't you share with others? What's something you've learned in this last year through my prepping and something that you decided to do in your own home?